Mr. Chairman, we now should be live and we can begin the meeting.
All right, this is Doug McKenney. Handing over the baton, so to speak, to Jeff McIntyre, since I can't see things right now, for the meeting, February 3rd, Clusville Parks Board meeting, 7 p.m. Jeff, you go the rest of the way. Thanks.
Sure. Okay. Present, we've got myself, Seth, Preston, Pat, Jeff, Eck, Gail, Terry, Tim, and Doug. First thing, I guess, next meeting, all present, yes. Next meeting is March 3rd, 2021. Let's see, do we have, Seth, do we have anybody that wants to comment on anything out other than, I guess, what's on our agenda?
Yeah, there is. There's no one in the public comment.
Okay, but we do have people then for new business, I'm assuming?
They did not request to join. I had sent an invite to them, so we'll see what happens. Maybe in a couple minutes, let's see what happens with minutes and other things.
Okay, and then
Okay,
it looks like
good.
Terry had sent out, oops, I'm sorry, oh, there's Doug.
I'm taking meetings. by the way.
Terry sent out meeting minutes.
He did, but
Anybody
real
get a
quick,
chance to
I'm
look at
going to
those?
take the minutes for this meeting since I had volunteered last meeting.
Oh, thank you. Did everybody get a chance to look at the minutes that Terry had sent out from last month?
Yes, at least I did.
Anybody got any
Yes.
comments, edits? Any edits to them?
Yes, okay.
Anybody want to make a motion that we approve them then?
Approve the minutes?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Raise your hand so we can see you. Anybody? There we go. We got everybody. I'm assuming, Doug, you're pretty dark there, but
Yeah, it's
there you go. Okay. I see
hopefully
you.
my hand's
I see
moving
your
out
hand.
there.
There we go. I see you.
Terry, the second there.
Yes.
Right. So old business we've got listed as none, but I guess this question I had, did we get an update on what's going to happen at the corner of Tom Fox and Hughes? I think we asked the commissioners or suggested to them
Sent you an email, I
corner
believe.
get, modified. What's that?
Jeff had sent an email, but Jeff, do you want to take it since that's your liaison role?
Oh, sure. Yeah, there was an approval given. I think it was two things, right? To take out the right turn lane.
Correct.
And then there was also to add the zebra stripes and make the changes for the crossing, for the pedestrian crossing.
And also approval of the speed humps.
Oh, thank you. Yes, the speed humps. Yep.
You're welcome.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. I just thought we should, in case people had, hadn't heard, we'd let that, tell them what's going on.
Sure. Good idea. Yep.
Let's see. So next thing's new business. We've got a Girl Scout project for Campbell Park, where it looks like they want to do a poll, a peace poll, I think it was.
Correct. What I'll do is I think I'll bring
well,
I'll bring in Tracy. You can see what they were looking to do there. You can see her request for the troop and to install this peace pole at Campbell Park, and they're requesting your approval to install it there. And that's pretty much sort of concludes anything to say about.
Seth, I wasn't here. How deep is that pole?
I didn't get into the details, and I think those are good questions to ask.
But there will be
I think that they said they were going to use at least a 6 foot 4x4, but I don't know if that means 6 foot above ground or 6 foot including 4 feet in.
Tracy,
So reading the description here, it says our Girl Scout peace pole would be 6 feet above ground, 4x4 treated wood post that individual
there you
girls
go.
or troops would paint
Pole. I
or
thought you said
inscribe.
Pole. I thought you had, it sounded like pole. So a peace pole.
Pole.
Peace pole, P-O-L-E, yeah, four. It says it's going to be 6 foot above ground, 4x4 treated wood post that individual girls or troops would paint or inscribe this saying, "May peace prevail on earth," in different languages.
Jeff, just so you know.
They're
during the meeting-
anticipating 4 to 8 different languages is what they're anticipating.
Jeff, I do have Tracy with us here if we have any questions of her, just to let you know. But I think Jeff did a good job of
Okay,
describing
great.
the poll and the details.
Yeah, I guess the one thing I don't know is where in Campbell Park are they proposing this?
So I know there is a pollinator garden that one of the Girl Scouts had put together as part of her Gold Award. It could be in that flower bed or any of the other flower beds that are in that park.
Which is out front. Closest to the 107 and Wooten Avenue, guys. There's 3 pollinator plants right in that, where the parking lot used to be. That's where the pollinator plots are, which would be a nice area for it.
On the corner there then, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Do we have a picture of this piece, Paul?
There was a hyperlink in the
Okay.
packet.
Okay, I'll look it up. I'm sorry, I didn't.
And I put it in the chat.
Thank you.
What languages, how would you determine what languages you would put on it?
I would leave that up to the Girl Scouts, and we would make sure that we had somebody that spoke that as a native language to make sure the words were correct.
Okay.
Is it
I guess the other
Looks like a pretty cool
question
project.
I would
Painted
have
like-
is, I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask, is it painted like the one in the photograph in the picture?
They haven't made it yet, so that's we'll give them those directions and those examples. So it would be similar to those that are on that website.
Okay.
It would be painted.
Yes, it'd be painted.
I guess, would this be something then that over time other Girl Scouts would maintain, or how would, because I'm just thinking something sitting out there in the weather painted, I'm not sure,
We would
how it would last.
a top coat varnish on it to protect it. And then later on, I guess, to wait and see if it needs repairs, that whoever's in Girl Scouts at that time later on could help out with repairs.
Yeah, that'd be great.
It looks like on the website, you can do it a couple different ways. You can either paint on there, or it looks like they have it in one big garden here. They have like the signs kind of screwed into it that may look like they're professionally printed. And some of them have like the caps on them. I was even thinking, have you guys thought about doing, like the PVC sleeve over top with a cap so that it maybe lasts a little bit longer? Or
I thought about putting a cap on top. I had not thought of any type of sleeve on the outside.
I think any way that, at least the ones I see on the link that you sent, I think they all look really neat, in my opinion. Does there need to be an approval? I mean, do we have I know it's a Girl Scouts Gold project, but is it submitted for the project already, or is this just getting approval to kind of go ahead with it?
This is would be all of the Girl Scout troops in Poolsville, so it's not part of any single girls project. It's all of
Okay.
the troops working together.
Got it. Okay.
We just need a place to put it on display.
Permanent
Neat.
display.
Right.
Do you need assistance installing it from Preston's crew, or?
If they would dig the hole, we could do the rest, but I don't want to dig out there and come across some power line or something that we don't know about.
So you'd have to give me a date. I'd call Miss Utility. There's nothing, there really isn't anything, but by law, you have to do it. And we would just have to coordinate. And we do have a piece of machinery that will auger a perfect hole And all you'd have to do is set it, concrete it, and put the dirt back in. That's how easy. We would make it easy enough for you guys. How's that?
Great.
We just have to coordinate.
Okay.
And okay, you have a pen, you can take my number real quick. Is that possible or not? Okay. 301.
Oh, hold on, not ready yet.
Okay.
Just send it in the chat.
I'm not. Last time I touched the button on this thing, it was I lost all.
Okay, I'm ready. 301.
370-9706.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. What do you think your time period or time target is having this done?
Probably not until the end of March.
Okay.
So I was thinking once we are definitely done with winter.
Oh, well, next week, winter's coming, big time. Hey, we might want to take a day to meet out there a week ahead just to make sure, because there is some areas that have bedrock right on the surface, and we just got to make sure where we set it so it makes life a little easier when we're trying to bore it and set it, okay?
How,
Okay.
how are the words attached to the pole?
They're painted on.
Oh, they're painted on. Okay. Did you already do that?
Not yet.
No.
Preston, you just dry pack that, or
What's that, sir?
would you dry pack the cement, or you actually pour, or would you recommend one way or the other?
We
Or you just,
What's that?
They got foam stuff you can use now, and it's like done in 5 minutes.
oh, all right.
Oh, have you seen that stuff you can buy? You dump a little, and it's done quickly.
That's
But
what Doug
we-
was
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I was talking about. There's foam.
Yep.
Yeah, like foam stuff that does it.
Yeah, you can do that, or actually, one thing we do a dry pack. We just take a couple bags of concrete, tamp it in there tight, put the dirt on top of it, and it will hold it in place. Our soils are pretty good; they don't move.
So you voting to make a recommendation.
So I make a
So is it-
recommendation.
yeah, anybody,
I make a motion that we make a recommendation to the commissioners to approve a Peace Pole Girl Scout project in Campbell Park.
Second.
all in favor? Raise your hand. Nope, looks like, okay, we got everybody again.
Well, before the lady hangs up, are you gonna consider the use of that PVC sleeve like was suggested?
I'll have to look it up and see what it is.
Okay.
It just, I was just thinking it may last a little bit longer. I mean, 4x4 treated, it's not, the treated stuff isn't as treated as it used to be. It doesn't last as long. So maybe putting that PV sleeve on and then painting on that would, protect it a little bit long, put a cap on and keep the water out of it. Just a thought.
And another thing, man, you keep talking about a 4x4. Why not a 6x6 piece of wood? I don't understand why such a small.
The one fine.
What's that?
We don't really have a budget, so
Well, we'll supply the 6x6.
okay.
And what I'm leaning to is a 4x4, and you get a young group of people, they will snap it off.
Oh,
And so if we go with a 6x6, you literally have to hit it with a truck to break it. And I'm just saying, I've seen enough things in the town, and the kids really aren't being bad, but they joke around, snap. Especially if you have 6 foot, you have a lot of leverage on it. If you have a taller one, I suggest going with a 6x6. It would actually give them more surface to write on, and I think the durability would go way up, and longevity too. So
And you're gonna have a lot more area to write on.
yes, sir.
Yeah, that's gonna be the big thing. It'll be more prominent.
okay. Sounds good.
And thank you
So,
for offering to provide that, Preston.
uh,
Very kind.
I know it's not,
We normally.
I know it's not very expensive, but Preston, is that something you can just, that you've got a budget for?
Well, I say I have a park R&M, and in the past, when young
Right.
people, any young people come and ask, in general, we supply, up to a couple $100 max, It's just something we've done to support our local teens and kids and the thing. And in all honesty, a 6x6 is going to cost us $32.
Yeah.
And a couple bags of concrete.
Right. Oh, I understand. I understand. I just figured I had to bring it up.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And I mean, Seth, if that's all right, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, no, I mean, like you said, I was going to say, it's about 45 all in. I mean, even considering the price has gone up a little bit, we're talking about an 8-footer, more or less. And even if we got a little longer one, it's such a small amount.
Okay. I hadn't priced anything out yet,
Very good.
so I wasn't sure how much the difference would be.
Anybody else got any other questions?
No.
So when you do go,
Yeah.
when this goes to the commissioners, that you will probably want to be available to, for their questions and comments as well.
This will probably be on their February 16th meeting, which is a Tuesday. They usually meet on a Monday, but that Monday is a holiday. So it's a Tuesday. Tuesday the 15th. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Jeff. Thank you.
Yes,
Hey, Jeff.
sir.
Just before we go any further, I want to just say thanks to Preston and his crew last few days here. Kept everything as usual, open and running and so forth and so on.
Yep.
So thanks.
I have a crew.
Absolutely.
I have
Thank you,
a
Preston.
crew.
So good.
Very lucky.
All right, what's next?
Next thing on the agenda is stocking fish in the stormwater management ponds.
Yes, as this issue has come up several different times about different topics, this was provided to us as a request from a resident to do this, and it was forwarded on to staff. Preston and I had an opportunity to discuss this issue a little bit. Preston informed me that a few years ago, the middle school pond had been emptied, and he was able to distribute those fish around to other ponds, and it gave the appearance that the fish were more plentiful and easy to catch. At one point, the town used to be able to get fish from West Virginia at a modest cost. Now we got to go to a place that's a certified location. You can see the attached cost as well to stock the fish at different rates and different types of species. So the resident has also asked that we stock Spates Hill. Preston and I discussed this a little bit. We really don't recommend it because there's not adequate parking in the area. There's been complaints by residents about trespassing. There's not a lot of fences on those neighborhood lots, so you could see how folks make it over there. There's not necessarily a trail to the stormwater management pond. Not that that's really a requirement, but it does help, provide a delineation of where people should be staying and kind of the locations they should be at as well. But if we're going to stock fish and the Board of Parks and Rec is interested in this, staff recommends that Stevens Pond and the middle school be the locations because they're most likely to support, the habitat adequately, and we won't have some of the fish die off that we have in a couple other ponds. So it makes, and those ponds, meaning those ponds by near Coteen Pump Station, the pond and the Stevens Pond, adequate parking, good places to walk around as well. So it's conducive to the public going there. But again, one of the things, that we continue to mention is it's important to remember for the public that these are first stormwater management ponds conveying, development water to these things. And secondly, it's a nice amenity to have fish in these. And so where we can, it's great too, but we have to understand what their premise is first. People want these to be nice water features, and really all they are is holding cells for development. I'm not that they can't be dual purpose, but we just have to tread firstly with the principle of what they're designed for. But it's up to the Board of Parks and Rec to determine what you want to do, any suggestion you want to make, any stocking you'd like to do on these. And again, the quotes are there.
Why can't we get them from West Virginia anymore?
Because they're not certified to transport into Maryland.
The state of Maryland has moved in the direction, they're trying to control non-native species moving into Maryland. So they have really raised the level of inspections and this has they have only had, there's only so many certified ones they were allowed to come in. And then I looked the ones up that we did have, and I sent one of the best ones. And the problem is they do not stock large fish. And the gentleman that's been pushing this issue, he wants to step in and catch big fish right away. First off, nobody.
Sorry, I mean,
Listen, Timmy, I'm just saying.
Well, I want to catch fish too.
Well,
everybody wants to catch big fish.
now here we go, guys, and that's a great point, Tim. I can go into the ponds, and you guys see my pictures.
Yeah.
They're giants. There are people who catch fish, and then there are people that go to the pond and just look at the pond. They try to fish, but they ain't gonna catch nothing. It doesn't matter how many fish I put in the pond, they're not going to catch any fish. It's not going to happen. So all these ponds, which I personally catch fish in other ponds throughout the county, and I stock so people can catch fish. Our ponds do not reproduce in general because they're sedimented out. They don't have the right habitat. They don't have the right pH. So do we want to spend hundreds of dollars on putting, we can only buy smaller fish. And will they grow to a larger? Maybe. But I just can't justify spending the cost to, you just put it into a bad environment. It's a stormwater pond, which captures, it's designed to capture pollutants and sediments. So it's not designed to, and personally, I would not eat the fish out of it. Nobody should eat the fish out of our ponds, in all honesty. I don't stop anybody, but I would not personally adjust, because where does everything end up?
Preston, years ago, didn't we only stock catfish for the
Yes.
fishing tournaments?
And
Those
now-
are the best.
That's what we
Yeah.
did at Stevens Park.
Yeah.
And then, which was nicety, because, I'd buy 400 pounds worth of catfish, and they would put a couple big ones, a bunch of small ones, and and it would last through the summer. But by the end of the summer, they would be dead or gone anyway. They didn't reproduce. So that pond, but now we do not have a source for the large catfish. Only thing we can find, I showed Seth, is the biggest fish are 8 or 10 inch type of bass. But that's bait. That's not even a.
And Preston brings up a good point here. I mean, collectively on the cost is, if you were all to have this pool of money to spend, let's say, just sitting there, I mean, is this what you'd spend it on, or are there other priorities within the parks system you'd want to use, right? I mean, you think about some of the comparison of these costs compared to some of the speed humps that are going to last a while, or some of the sidewalk, alignments and miscellaneous things we've done. I mean, some of these costs start getting up towards there, so it's that trade-off, right? Particularly as Preston says, it's hard habitats to keep alive. I mean, in this regard, these are two of our best ponds on top of that we're talking about. Not that they can't, but again, they don't reproduce, as Preston's saying, for the most part here. And the habitat, for some of these, some of the bass, they're not going to reproduce because there's no rock shelf for them and other things. So it's a catch-22. I mean, it's nice to feel like we provide a resident something, but it's a high expectation.
I have a question for Preston.
Yes, sir.
I thought we needed the fish in order to eat the algae or to eat the duckweed.
That's a different type of fish. That's not a sports fish. Okay. We have, in Stevens Park, we have a beautiful colony of koi that have been in there, I would say 15 years. And they're probably 10 to 15 pound fish, white and gold. And that pond does a nice job with that. But with that said, bass do not reproduce in that pond. Crappie do a little bit, Bluegill do a little bit, but the bass do not, because there's something not quite like the pH or the substrate, what they lay their eggs on. We used to have them also in Tama 1 pond and Tama 2 pond, but the otters come out the creek and they eat our fish in their 2 ponds. But with that said, we tried this past summer, we reintroduced them in the Collier Circle Pond. We introduced them into Tama 1 again. So we're trying to bring those fish into to help control the algae. And we also have a pond that does have but it's not a stormwater pond. We call it the Beaver Pond. It's near Helmos Park. And that has Israeli carp in it that are actually reproducing, and I'll catch those through the year and I'll transfer those to the ponds. But once again, they do not, for some reason, they won't reproduce and they don't live that long. But the koi seem to, like I said, we have some that are 10 or 15 years old. And so Seth allowed me last year, we went ahead with Collier Circle Pond. We're trying to do, besides the fish, we're trying to get an established lily pads. And so we are trying to improve. We have our water quality, and maybe once we get the water quality with the native, with the plants, we maybe be able to introduce some fish that can do well. But the biggest thing that hurts ours, and we need to be more active, I don't know how we can post it, is chlorinated water out of pools kill our fish. People think that water's clear is good. It's the most dangerous thing that goes into my ponds. It will kill my fish instantly.
Chlorinated water from where?
The pool,
Pools.
people blow off
Oh,
their
swimming
pool.
pool. Oh,
Many people drain into the streets.
And we do have laws that before you enter, you have to have it tested by the town staff to make sure the chlorinated level is low enough. But I don't think the people know about it. I don't think, we might have to start a policy where we, at the beginning of the spring, when people start working, put it in the water bill. Hey, before you do your pool, before you dump your pool, please have town staff come and test it so it doesn't end up into our ponds.
Oh, I see.
That truly is. It looks good, good clear water, but it's deadly. It is deadly to our ponds.
Hey, couple quick questions, Preston. The different invoices, are we saying, we can either run anywhere from 1,800 to 4,800, or is this was the recommendation for the different ponds, or?
Well, if you look at, I think they actually had acreage. So like, I think our pond at the middle school is 3 or 4 acres. So, and I think with the quotes, they actually give a per acre cost, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
It's units and then $6 a unit. So like the most expensive one was $4,800. It was for 200 8 to 10 inch largemouth bass.
And yes, exactly. So see the 8 to 10 inch, that's when they're trying to get catchable fish. That's when that price goes way.
Gotcha. Okay.
Way
And
up.
then, so if you wanted, so that the cheapest was,
So if you go to fingerling, which are 3 to 4 inch fish, which is not a bad way to go because they will adapt to the water better. And there's more microorganisms for them to feed on. That's not a bad, but you're talking, it takes 2 to 3 years for them to get to 8, 10, 12 inches.
yeah. Okay.
Right.
So bottom line is we can pay anywhere from $1,800 to $4,800 essentially to accomplish what we want to accomplish. I should say that this citizen wants to
Per
accomplish.
acre, yeah.
But it's a kind of one-time deal because they won't survive beyond this season. So
Right. So yeah.
Something
So
like
it's
that.
may end up being a recurring cost if we go down that road.
And then we got to remember what these stormwater management ponds are. Stormwater management,
right.
not for recreation.
Now, there's something I've been thinking about, and that there is a species of fish that will thrive in our ponds. And the DNR considers a non-native species an aggressive species. And it's the snakehead. I'm being serious though, Tim. I'm being serious. It handles low oxygenated water extremely well, has a rapid growing rate, And that's something in the future, if they ever declassify it, or
Ew.
some bucket biologist decides to bring it into the ponds, I think that's really a route we should look into.
Mm-mm.
But I think, yeah, I think that
Make
there's
Come
a-
on, Gail, it's no different than when I'm pickerel off in Maine, the teeth.
Exactly.
But don't they eat all the other fish?
Well, they do bass eat other fish?
yes.
Not like snakeheads.
What's that?
Not like snakeheads. They're very predatory, aren't they?
They're just there on the same class as bass, Tim.
Okay.
They
All
do. And if any, you know what's funny? At the Blackwater Refuge, you've done a study. What's disappeared is frogs. They love eating frogs. It really has changed the balance of the frog population.
Are there snakeheads already in the Potomac?
Oh, yeah, right down.
Oh, yeah.
Right down in the canal and on the Potomac.
Oh.
They're coming. They'll be here eventually.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we table this issue. I don't see the logic of stocking the ponds at this point. Maybe once we have the proper, lily pads and, maybe some cattails and some better, water,
Water quality in general.
water quality
we do have
levels, et
water
cetera. I think
quality,
maybe,
maybe some
then we could
address it.
revisit it, but I'm all for, I think it's fun to go down and fish with the kids and stuff like that, but I think you guys do a pretty good job of keeping stock as it is, and if the fish aren't gonna live, I just don't see the point in stocking.
And our
Yeah, I
ponds,
agree.
our ponds will only hold so many fish anyways, but we do have trophy fish in the ponds. Some beautiful,
And
beautiful.
I would highly disagree with buying bigger fish.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. I just,
I did- A while back, and I already told this story to Preston some time ago, that a resident called me and it was on a Sunday and talked to me for quite a while. He was fishing, I don't know what pond he was fishing in, and he told me that usually he gets 2 or 3 bites right away within an hour. And he said he wasn't getting any bites, and he was wondering why there weren't any fish in the pond. And so I had no clue. And then the next day or so, I asked Preston, and then Preston told me that, well, these ponds are not sport fishing ponds. They're stormwater management ponds. They're not expected to have sport fish. And yeah, so I don't know. Whatever Preston's recommendation is, that's what I back, because he knows this a million times better than I do.
Well, you-
I'll second you on that one, that's for sure. Knows a lot more than I do.
anybody want
right,
to
so Pat,
second
you,
my motion to table?
Yeah, you made a motion.
Yeah, anybody, yeah, somebody has to second Pat's motion to table this.
I'll second it. All right. Gail's got it.
Gail's got it. Look at that. Is this your first official second, Gail?
Wow. I'm impressed.
There you go.
Mayor?
All right, so hey, everybody in favor of tabling this discussion, please raise your hand.
My hand is raised.
It's like, okay, we're unanimous. Tabled. All right, next item on the agenda is cameras in our parks.
Certainly, I'll just sort of tee this up. I know that the chairman wanted to discuss this regarding the installation of camera in one or more of the parks, depending on discussion of which ones you believe need the cameras and where you'd like them installed. So I think this is a good opportunity for the board just to kind of have this general discussion. But I think if this gains traction, we may want to bring in the town attorney to discuss the town's responsibility and liability of having this video and the record retention and other issues that may come anytime you are a public entity capturing the video, because there's it puts you in a responsibility role in certain elements on this. So the town commission, I will just say the town commission has verbalized this. They didn't take a strong stance one way or another. I get a feeling that there's kind of a hesitancy, but it's not been put to vote either. on this issue. I mean, Jeff's on the commission. I think we kind of discussed this with the bowling and the parks. You might want to be able to provide some more information, but it's up to the board to determine how you want to proceed.
Yeah, well,
Oh,
Seth kind
sorry.
of covered it, but we had a commissioner meeting and there were 2 Montgomery County police officers which were invited to attend because there had been reports of several, I'll call them bullying incidents. Some were maybe a little bit more serious than bullying incidents. And then one of the points was, well, the police are going to talk with the parents, which at the last commissioner meeting was reported that the police did talk with the parents of the kids involved and so on. So hopefully that'll make a difference. Also, I guess with the colder weather, there have been no incidences, since then. So maybe it'll just stay really cold forever. Anyway,
Even bullies get cold, huh?
yeah, and so anyway,
Yeah, weather bullying.
one of the points that was brought up was, well, maybe we have surveillance cameras, security cameras, and then if an incident takes place, we can go to the security camera and see who did what to who and so on. But it's not quite that easy by any stretch of the imagination. So,
And
and it
also,
was
I mean, is bullying technically a criminal offense? I mean, I guess my question is,
Whoa.
I'm not trying to say that bullying should not be addressed. I guess what I'm saying is, do we, as the town, want to be arbiters of, like, we have to have the records retention? Are we going to have to share everything that we have with the police officer? Is it? I don't know. Do we really want to put ourselves in that?
But I think that the word bullying is definitely thrown around a lot, right? Lately, in particular. I'm 45. I'm like, we got bullied.
I'm right there.
But I think some of the instances are physical assaults, like significant assaults of older kids to 5th grade kids in high school assaulting a 5th grade kid, punching him in the face. So still, I guess it is, but I think it's also assault. I don't know. So
I would
that's
consider
more than
this all, I
one.
guess.
That's more than one instance. There were several of this, and there seems to be a couple of individuals who are particularly menacing. And this, I don't know, Jeff, is this where this is stemming from? I was in a meeting with Jeff about it.
this is exactly where.
So let me
Yes,
Doug,
this is exactly where.
give, this is Doug. Give a little more context, I think. In years past, a couple of our parks had been vandalized, spray painted, other abuse or whatever. And the topic came up there at that time that, gee, could we put in cameras? Never completely came to fruition, obviously, because we don't have cameras. And since that time, every couple of years or so, it kind of resurfaces, and you get some little group of band of brothers or whatever, doing stuff to the parks and they shouldn't be doing it, et cetera, et cetera. This one time is a little bit different, though. Previously, we've been talking about protecting or watching over the town's assets.
Right.
In this case, I think the position was, it wasn't the asset; it was a function of somebody doing something to somebody else, and not doing it, not causing damage to Poolsville property, but more of a direct individual thing. So anyway, that's new to this discussion, and I think we should at least stress that so we know we got all the pieces to the puzzle.
And Doug, a couple of years ago, when the police were involved, they actually put their own surveillance cameras up to handle it. And since this would be a police matter with the bullying, not a destruction of our property, our video would probably not be legal. Or I'm just saying it's a different when you're dealing people violence. So they might want to contact the police, see if they will supply cameras like they did. We were having some hate crime, at Stevens Park. They were, putting hate symbols and wordings, and they had put a camera up.
This was recently, or
On the last 2 years, matter of
Okay.
fact. And they didn't even tell us they did it, and somebody saw the camera, and then they thought there was a issue with somebody watching the little kids. And that's how we came to find out that it was Montgomery County Police had come in quietly, had put the cameras up to, to surveil the area. So that may be around.
I don't know. I feel like we have cameras everywhere all the time. And, if this was something that happened on the regular, I mean, it's horrible, this
Yeah.
incident you're mentioning, but if this is something that was happening all the time, then I think maybe that would be something we would probably need to really consider. But Poolsville being a small town, I'm sure the people knew who the people were. The police were told, police went and talked to those parents. Is that going to solve the issue? Who knows, right? But would a camera have solved the issue too? I guess that's my point.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The answer, Pat, is to how's the I can't think of the word right now, but how it's enforced. And if you don't have the ability to enforce it, which is kind of what we usually have, the problem most often is we don't have staff, and then we ask other parts of staff to do it, and they're not too happy, and rightfully so. If we don't have a way to enforce it, I'm not sure that we go forward with it.
I also think the other issue is, let's just say that, there's not gonna be vandalism to the cameras, and then we got to replace cameras.
Yep.
Seth, you had talked about in the beginning about the legal stuff about cameras, the responsibility of that. Can you speak about that?
You're on mute, Seth.
I'm not going to play attorney on this too much, but I am going to jump in on this a little bit, because once we have cameras, we've interjected ourselves into the process.
Right.
You sort of become a party to this as well. And then you're a public entity, so we're subject to the Freedom of Information Act. Anybody can request our video. And now we've kind of got a process of who's going to be the retrieval person. How do we store this? How long do we have to store these for? Where are we storing them to? I mean, there comes a whole process to these things that you got to be sensitive about. Let alone, like I said, that liability issue of now you've kind of dragged yourself into this role that you could have stayed out of a little bit. Unlike you couldn't go to Sheets if something happened to your vehicle without a police report, right? You need to have a police report and some other information because it's private property. There's a little different threshold. Now that we're a public entity, that threshold is reduced. We have higher standards to meet. And that becomes a treacherous area that we sort of engage in a little bit by having cameras as well.
Okay, thank you.
I just think, our slogan is small town character, down home charm. I think putting cameras in parks is against.
Is that part of the slogan? Put cameras in park? No.
No, I just think what I'm saying is I think that goes against,
I agree.
Tim, that's one of the icons we're going to have.
Right. Small town character, cameras in parks.
Yeah, there you go.
High definition cameras.
From a parent perspective of someone who's now on security duty at Helmos Park, you can catch me down there 3 to 4 every day. From a parent's perspective, I'm like, yay, camera. But from a town perspective, I get all of the issues that go into it, and policing. Then the town has turned itself into kind of the police, and that's not our job. So I get both aspects. I can see that. I'm not an irrational human.
I totally see where you're coming from. I have 5 kids too, so and we've dealt with the bullying, all that stuff. So, but I just feel like we should be able to go talk to our neighbors, and sometimes they're irrational and won't listen. But
I can talk to you, Patrick, but someday.
But anytime you want, Gail, I'm happy to sit down and chat.
I don't have any trouble. Okay. So what are we doing?
So it sounds like we're not in recommendation of cameras. Anybody, do we need to make any kind of recommendation to the commissioners?
No, because you
No.
all wanted to do this. It's not like as if they referred it to you. And I get the impression, quite frankly, and Jeff can probably pipe in that I get the impression the commissioners were kind of in the same boat your
Mhm.
discussion is as well. I think there's a hesitancy to enter into this realm.
So we can revisit this down the road if need be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could
Right.
just.
Yeah, probably so.
Mr. Eck,
Yeah,
would you?
and if it
are you
does come up with the commissioners, Jeff's here, so.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Is he, what are his thoughts in terms of what the commission, the feeling and where the commissioners stand on it?
I think, honestly, I think we're in exactly the same place that the commissioners were, and they kind of bumped it to the the Parks Board for.
What if we
kind
don't
of
put the
get it off
cameras
their
in?
plate, but,
What if the county police put the cameras in selectively?
well, I
at
didn't
different
really
times?
know that was a possibility, and
Mr. Preston said they already did once.
Yeah, but Preston,
They've
yeah.
done it in the past. I think if we request it again, we could probably do it.
Why don't we leave it up to them to do it?
well,
If it's a
well,
problem.
that didn't come up when we had the two officers on
Yeah.
the Zoom call, but it certainly doesn't hurt to ask Officer Bond if that's a possibility.
Okay.
That way they would, whatever monitoring or availability, it'd be in their hands, not ours. Then I guess if they did that, they probably should get permission from the town of Poolsville to put it someplace in the town of Poolsville, but it certainly doesn't
Yeah,
hurt to ask
I would-
Officer Bond what the process is, if they still do that or not.
Why would they need permission? They could just do it. They're the police. You know,
That's what I'm
don't-
thinking.
they don't-
Yeah, they're not gonna ask us.
that we'd have a liability issue then.
Well, the town of Poolsville is a municipality, so I
They
mean,
put cameras up before many times over the years.
have they, well, not that I know of. I don't know of any, other than what Preston told me. I never heard that before.
They've had cameras shooting at your AHOP place over the years. Those are
Oh,
bad characters.
in the car, you mean in the cars?
I can't tell you where they were, but they were there.
Okay.
So they're there, Jeff. Don't be naive.
And KKL goes, I hope they didn't get me.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been instances where I've been in the park with my kids, and there'll be older kids there, and they're using foul language, and they're, acting up. I mean, I've walked over to them and just said, "Listen, I've been your age once. I get it, but there's little kids around here.
Yeah.
Can you please, watch the language?" And for the most part, that it was okay, And then I said, after when we leave, I said, "Thank you."
No, no,
Teenage kids
no,
are not.
I have no shame in that game at all.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like,
What's your name? Because I'm looking for a kid that's problem. The kid's like, what? Forget to text him and tell him.
that's just like, you have some parents down there, and I think the problem gets resolved pretty quickly.
Yeah.
All right. I guess you kind of concluded that, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, I think
All right,
so.
so yeah, we'll leave that alone for now. Next agenda item
Yeah,
is
I would
renaming.
say
Almost Park at
no action.
Broadmoor
No, not even a
entrance.
table, just no action.
Right, okay.
Well, I
No
am
action,
going
whatever.
to, I took a note on I am going to bring up to the commissioners that we should ask Officer Bond that if she felt cameras would be helpful, that Montgomery County Police should do the camera and leave Poolsville out of it.
Yeah, but
Thank
are
you.
they really?
Now,
But if the Montgomery County Police-
guys, let me ask you a question here, though. Jeff, I understand what you said, and I know it, but just moments ago, we said that it doesn't really fit in with our town character and town motto. So on the one hand, we're saying we really don't want cameras, and we have not identified where we don't want them from. But then on the other hand, we're now saying, well, cameras will be okay if the county puts them in and they're responsible county police. So I think we're sending to whomever is looking at this a conflicting message.
You
And
just took the words out of my
think
mouth.
anyway, I don't know.
You just
I
took the
think he
words out
meant
of
as
my mouth.
needed, right?
Well, the statement was that if we talked with Officer Bond, and if she felt it was necessary, then we would say Montgomery County Police should put up the camera or cameras, and then they would completely manage it and manage any requests for the videos. And Town of Poolsville wouldn't be the one owning or managing or maintaining the cameras. or the content of the cameras.
Jeff, I get where you're coming from there, but I don't want to, I don't think we need to give MCPS or not MCPS, Montgomery County Police carte blanche to put cameras up in our parks. I think what we're saying here is if there's an incident, like Preston was mentioning, there was an incident of hate speech being written in the town park. That was a specific incident that the police or had an investigation and probably were setting up some surveillance in order to catch this particular person or, you know, people that were doing this particular thing. Do we need cameras in the park every single day as kids
No.
go about playing and moms and dads go about playing with their kids? I don't think so. And so by telling MCPS, or I keep saying MCPS, Montgomery County Police, if you think there's cameras, go ahead and throw them up. I think to Doug's point, that goes against small town character, down home charm. I mean, personally.
But
And
if
so
someone
if we don't want them there, why would we want the Montgomery County police officers to put them there as well?
I think the reason we don't want them there is because there's a enormous responsibility that goes along with.
That's not my point. That wasn't my point about the discussion at all. That's part of it. But I don't even think we need to talk to the attorney about that. What I'm saying is, as a town, it doesn't embody what we mean as a town, right? I don't care. Like what we're saying is, we don't want to have to deal with the headaches. We're going to pass the buck to the police officers. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, I don't think it embodies what we are as a town. I think townspeople should be able to solve these problems that pop up as a town. Now, if it's a criminal offense, then the police can get involved. But I'm not for passing the buck because it's just too much of a headache. We don't want to have to deal with records keeping and all that stuff. That's not what I'm saying. I just want to make sure that my point is clear there. I'm not even considering that at this point.
I think Jeff is aware of more than the one instance that I brought up. There have been several assault instances involving kids at the playgrounds. And there's also other investigations, I think, that are happening. And so I don't think it's on us to make the decision to put a camera in by any means. But Jeff, I'm not trying to speak for you, but are you saying like, hey, I can just bring up, hey, in the past, we've had an instance where I think you've put in a camera, and is this a time that this would be needed? That's on your plate? I don't know.
Well, yeah, my thought on that is, and the conversation, the situation may be a little bit deeper than, we all have access to.
Right.
And
Fair enough.
and when let's say we want to talk with Officer Bond and find out what the possibilities are, that if at some moment it comes to that point, more than the parents can deal with, then maybe the police could step in with some type of additional patrols or whatever they would do. We have already asked them to do more patrols past the Poolsville parks because of the situation. And they said, well, they will do that, but calls for service, of course, take priority. When someone, needs a police officer, they have to do that instead of driving around by the parks in Poolsville. So we definitely have asked that. We have also asked the Montgomery County Police to get the community officer as Officer Tara Bond. And we've also asked her to be in contact with the Poolsville High School resource officer, because the resource officer is aware of the individuals involved. And so he can be more aware of this situation. And then there was a third point as well, and it seemed to have escaped my mind. But we are following up with Officer Bond. And also they have conversation with which they have done. So yeah, so we are following up on this. My 2 cents again, I'll just say it over again, is I didn't know that having a Montgomery County camera was even a possibility. So not saying we should do that at all. But it doesn't hurt to have the conversation with Officer Bond that if it came to that point where the parents who are already kind of, doing this, about kind of being there.
That I agree with.
Was beyond that, then maybe we could, go to the next step.
Yeah, that I agree with 100%. Like it's a specific instance where we're trying to stop a specific something happening.
Yeah.
And I wasn't aware that it went deeper than.
Yeah,
know.
unfortunately it does. Yeah.
But I don't like the idea of saying, well, we just don't want to have to deal with the headache of camera, so why don't we just tell him, Montgomery County Police.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that is. Yeah,
You know what I mean? It just
kind of wishy-washy.
yeah. So I think we agree here, right?
We did.
And I hope I wasn't coming off as.
No, not at all.
Okay. I sometimes I could be a little passionate, I guess. So I've been told.
So we ready to move on?
Yes.
All right, so we had no action?
Okay, so
Just
next
for
item.
meeting minutes purposes, no action? Okay.
Yeah.
Next item is, we talked about Tahalmos Park not having, or Bodmer, the Bodmer entrance to Halmos Park not having any signage, except that it says it's the Bodmer entrance. So I guess there's a recommendation here to potentially rename Bodmer Park, or the play area potentially. Seth, you probably can give us some more details,
Yeah.
but renaming it to William Taylor Park.
That's correct. And just so we're on the same page, clearly this is the Bodmer entrance location, which there's a playground area, there's a T-ball area, it's kind of the mulch area as well. This would be the section that would be renamed there in that vicinity. So basically it's almost a rectangular area, but you all obviously said and asked Mr. Eck to take this to the town commission for a sort of discussion. They kind of heard that this body, rightfully so, had a very deliberative discussion on it and meaningful. And you all even struggled with, what you should do. And then it's not kind of an easy decision because it sort of has a place name in the community, but it's attached to another park by formal name. And then they recommended back to you that renaming it makes sense because of some of this potential confusion. And they recommended the William Taylor name as one of the approved names on the list that was updated earlier this year for you to consider renaming this park. That was what they had sent to you. And I also sent in that email today, the background and information of Mr. Taylor. So you have that information before you.
We heard that.
It was Skip gave us that presentation, right?
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
a while ago.
Last summer of 2019, I think.
I did have a question.
I believe it was
when you're
his
I
grandfather.
thought we were going to name one of the new parks coming online. We should have 2 to 3 parks in the next couple of years come online.
Yeah, so this is what
Did the Bottomer people do something wrong that their name has to be taken off, or?
I did
I don't understand.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, no more Bottomer Park. I mean, I can understand if they've done something wrong, but that's been a pillar of the community for years.
Well, I think Bodmer Park.
Yeah,
became
I agree with you,
Bodmer
Preston.
Street. Yeah,
Yeah.
Bodmer. Yeah.
So I've been thinking about this since I got the Seth update to the agenda, and I have no problem. So the proper name of that park as it stands is Halmos Park. It's just the Bodmer entrance to Halmos Park, right? So that's just Halmos Park. What I'm saying, like, I don't, and I'm see how I can be as. So I think that I was envisioning using William Taylor's name for a park in the new development at the center of town.
Bigger, better park.
That was it's more prominent. It stands out. I think, and it's a new park, and it's that, instead of taking a section of an existing park that we just don't know what the name is and putting William Taylor, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I feel like it's just, hey, yeah, we're just going to take this because nobody knows the name of it. We're just going to rename it William Taylor Park.
Right. Yeah.
I thought that the park in the center of town would even make more sense for that name.
That's certainly a recommendation.
Yeah, I agree with you that Yeah, I mean, my impression of all this was not to fully rename the park, but realign the sign to one or two of an option. And then I think, yeah, any other new park names would come from the roster or the list that we have that are eligible park names, and go on anew to whatever park they were, so that we devoted them onto.
My thought was, because I guess I'm the one that brought this up, whatever it was, 2 months, 3 months ago now, whatever it's been, but the play area for, whatever, almost 30 years that I've been here, I've always thought that the play area was Bodmer Park. The T-ball area makes sense to remain Halmos. I always thought, Halmos T-ball field. That way it doesn't, all the fields stay as Halmos, but my impression was that the play area would be just, Bodmer Park. It's right there on the road. It's, that there, and then all the fields could still remain, Halmos fields, and it makes it a lot, easier with PAA and, the baseball, the naming. Just my thought.
Well, I agree with Patrick that saving the name for the Mr. Taylor Park for the area in a newer development that had more prominent location. I think that's a swell idea. And then we're kind of back to, well, what do we want to do about the Bodmer Avenue entrance to Halmos Park? Do we want to rename I guess the play area Bodmer Park, or do we just want to do nothing and leave it the way it is because it doesn't confuse anybody to begin with?
The more we talk about this and the more I think about it, the more I think we just leave it stated as it is.
I think that's a very valid suggestion.
Yeah, I just to be clear, in the Willard property, that park right next to Town Hall, that's what I thought would be a really good name for the William Taylor Park.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent idea. Absolutely.
And I had already kind of had that in the back of my mind. I hadn't mentioned it anyway because they haven't even started doing anything over there. But I thought that would be a really good name for that park. And it's a founder of the community, built Sugarland. I mean, I think it'd be really cool to have that park named after him. Frankly, that's just my 2 cents, and that's what I was thinking. And so I guess it was like, we're just going to carve off this little piece of this existing park and name it. Didn't do it justice. It didn't do the person justice. The name of that, I guess, is my point. And so, to Doug's point, Jeff's been living here for 30 years. He said it's always been, the entrance at Bodmer Park, or the Bodmer entrance to Halmos Field.
Well, I've just always known it as Bodmer Park.
Right. I mean, my kids would go have friends over there and say, "Oh, meet at Bodmer Park." That's just what I always.
Yeah.
Jeff, what is it listed as? You talked about this for the EMS. Is it Bodmer Park or Halmos Park at Bodmer?
Yeah, in the map books that we have in our fire station and our surrounding neighboring fire stations that run mutual aid into our area, there is no such thing as Bodmer Park. So it's called Halmos Park.
So if someone falls and hurts themselves and they say, I'm at Bodmer Park, you guys could be driving around.
No, we know where it is.
Well, but
I'm just saying in the map book. In the map book, it says Halmos Park.
Well, what if someone says Bodmer Park? And
because
someone's
not too
from
long
around
ago,
here.
I think
Not everyone is from around here.
Well, no,
career guys.
Not everybody around.
No, I mean, come on. So do we have to make it official with Bodmer Park then, or?
Oh, no, if we want to do anything, then I will simply ask the captain to update the fire department map book.
Okay.
To represent Bodmer Park. In fact, I would do that anyway right now. Because,
all right, thanks.
If someone calls, they don't know the address, they say, I'm at Bodmer Park. Okay, great. Now we're going to go to the map book, say, hey, there it is. Off we go.
Terry, you had some input on this at the last meeting.
Yeah, for me, I've always referred to it as Bodmer Park. I've always known it as Bodmer Park. The parents for T-ball have always known it as Bodmer. So, it's almost de facto Bodmer. But yeah, it didn't matter so much to me. I think everybody's going to know it as Bodmer, even though it's considered Halmos. I know that Jeff brought up the county map, and it has Bodmer listed in there, even though Jeff McIntyre, sorry, although even though in the emergency response book it is not listed as Bodmer. Anyway, I don't care. I mean, I'll call it whatever we want to call it, but I do like Pat's idea of saving Taylor for a bigger, better bang for the buck kind of thing.
Yep, I agree.
So we still need to figure out what to call, or do we just leave it as it is, or
Leave it.
Bodmer.
Gail, what do you think?
I say leave it. It's part of the small town charm.
Leave it. No cameras.
There you go. Good call, Gail.
Leave it.
We'll take that back.
All right, so there's our recommendation.
Well, I guess we don't have to make a recommendation because it's not a change, right?
Yeah, we're not making change.
Yeah, I mean, I just say, the decision was no decision, essentially, to retain it as it was what you had previously. And, we can take that back to them and go with that. And I think you're right. I mean, probably in the Willard project, it's a good location to use that name. You're probably right there. So.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, so next thing on the agenda here is just, I guess that Seth provided us in our packet a list of all meeting dates for the entire 2021 year. Just
Yep.
FYI for everybody there.
That's
Thank
correct. And sometimes I always do that with the calendars because what you find sometimes, and depending on how schedules will land, sometimes you'll find that there's a conflict. There's a conflict with a holiday, but it doesn't seem to be that way this year. So just wanted to provide you that as well. And so you can get your calendars
And
out.
is that pretty much that we always fall like if the Wednesday is like whatever, say the 1st or something, we always follow the commissioners meeting, correct?
That's correct. That's the way this calendar is laid out, is that you follow after the commissioners, even though town code says you're the first Wednesday, but your traditional history is following the town commission.
Right. I just wanted to make sure that was
That's
clear.
That's exactly how this is laid out.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. So you can.
Lost my screen. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Next on the agenda here is Superintendent of Parks and Streets report.
Hey, Jeff, before we get into that, quick question.
Okay.
This is for Seth and Preston. What are you guys thinking in terms of opening up the fields for permits, when you're thinking they may be available?
Well, I'd like to run that before the town commission, if anything, to get their comfortability and they kind of have to deal with county and
That was the other thing.
other things. So that's where I'd want to go with that.
Okay,
Get some-
all right. Because I know traditionally they've
Terry,
opened,
typically, I think, don't we target April 1st, which is practice time in March or something like that?
I think it was always
Yeah, yeah.
you guys had always done mid-March, weather permitting, of course.
And actually, Terry, this February is lining up to be an interesting, we've had pretty mild, snow-free
Right.
last 4 years. So we kind of got spoiled. March 1st, we were kind of getting things, which is only 3 weeks off, 2 weeks off, and 3 weeks off. And you figure the next 2 weeks, we're talking sub-freezing highs. The
Mhm.
grounds will get frozen, and then that ground gets frozen. Remember how it used to weep out over on ball field 1?
Oh, yeah,
So we're
absolutely.
setting up that we might have an issue where it weeps for a couple weeks and stuff like that. But once again, Terry, March 1st, even though they're not open, we will start to address the ball fields March 1st. So we will be ready once Montgomery County, once Seth and the commissioners decide, let's at least, we still might not have the bathrooms open, but we will
Right.
possibly have the ball fields, open to the public. But our fields will be ready by mid-March if
Okay.
that comes about. And if parents choose to start doing their own thing, with the proper distancing, it will be ready for them. That's my goal.
Okay, great. Yeah, because I've started to field some questions already from the parents. When does the season start? When we will be able to get on the fields, that kind of thing. So I just thought I'd toss that out there.
And
Thanks.
you know what, Terry, that's really something that I will try to probably do earlier, since the kids are home, their parents are home, and they are looking for activities.
As I said, I'll communicate with the town commission and we'll go from there and deal with that sort of things. And hopefully, there's no big issue. I mean, it is true that everybody's
mean,
they're
there's
crazy.
been-
We know a lot more than we did a year ago on these things, so to speak. I mean, not that it was an issue a year ago, the virus itself. It's been March, but I think
They've been playing travel baseball and travel softball all through the rest of Maryland, except for Montgomery County.
I know.
So hopefully, I guess I think we should pray or hope for the best, meaning get the fields ready to go, and then be prepared to start the seasons, I would think.
Bring back travel baseball. I'm telling you, you know why? It gets all the people out of my meeting people were here, but they weren't playing baseball. Get them baseball.
I want one more question before Preston jumps in here. The skate park painting, is that we looking at early springtime or?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I would imagine that'd be the time.
Obviously you can't do it in the cold, but yeah.
Yeah, that's still on the target, and I can provide you a good update at the next meeting.
Can I ask one?
Go ahead, Jimmy. Go ahead. You got it. Go ahead.
A couple of the pickleball players have asked me about a windscreen on the fence. Is that something we can look into?
Yeah, we can definitely look into that. Yeah.
All right. I know we can't decide now, but maybe we can look into it for them.
Sure. Let me.
I guess they're using the courts, which is a good thing in the winter.
Yeah.
Put it
That's
up in the
probably no
fall,
different
winter,
than
take it down in the spring.
for the tennis side too,
Yeah, I guess the wall. Yeah, I've seen them on tennis courts, but I haven't seen them around here.
Yeah.
Can I bring up something that isn't on the agenda?
Absolutely.
No.
Oh,
I said absolutely.
Hey,
Hey, I'm running this meeting here.
as well,
You're down there.
This is just an idea that I had. So
You're on the bottom of my screen.
I worked in New York City for a while, and I would commute to work on one of those city bikes, on one of those bike share things. So I had my plastic key, and I could take a bike out whenever I wanted to. Ride it because I lived in Herald Square, which is 35th and 6th Avenue, and I worked at 40th and 7th Avenue, so it wasn't very far anyway. And but anyway, the whole point is have we ever thought about? Has this board ever thought about the possibility of one of those bike share programs that maybe we could put one of those bike share racks near the electric car charging stations, or I don't know. It's just a thought. It's just something I always enjoyed when I did work in the city. Because certainly I didn't have a car and I was living at the Hilton anyway. So anyway, just a thought. I don't know if it's corny or crazy.
Like I know at the colleges, it's a company that comes in and proposes that and runs it. I believe.
I think the one in Rockville. I've used the one in Rockville just for the heck of it, and I think it's called Capital Bike Share. Their bikes are red. So
DC has them. DC as well. Yeah,
and they have the scooters too.
Yeah,
but I think I think they're a private company. I think it's a private company, and they supply the bikes. And like in your particular case, like you rode the bike from your hotel or wherever you were staying to a place of work.
Yeah.
But if you didn't ride it back, they'd have to get, they have a van that goes around, puts the bikes back on racks.
Well, in my case, you had to take it out from a rack, So you put your key in, you could take it out from the rack, and then your key identified you, so like a little chip. And then when you, and it also knew the serial number of the bike somehow, so it was like magic. And then you rode to the office, which is, maybe, I don't know, half a mile at most. And then you put it back in a rack, in another rack that's located near your destination. And then it kind of registered, and it's, because I paid a monthly subscription fee, so I didn't pay, per time I used the bike. But, it knew that you had the bike for however many minutes or hours. And if you didn't have a subscription, then I guess you paid with your credit card, you maybe paid a little bit extra. But you always put it back in a rack. I know there's a big issue.
Yeah.
I lived in Belgium, or lived in Brussels for 8 or 9 years. And then this whole thing with the scooters and the bike share program, and they were just, and when you walked on the sidewalk, you had to step over these things because people would just leave them wherever they were.
Yeah. They're in Georgetown all the time on the sidewalk.
Oh my gosh, that was horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, it hasn't gotten a whole lot better.
So, is that something we can look into? Just reaching out to Capital Rideshare and see. I mean, I don't see how it could hurt to have the bikes in town, but
We certainly can reach out. to
my
them.
guess is they're going to come back and say we don't know if you're going to have enough traffic
Yeah,
Could be.
usage.
Yeah.
for usage, yeah.
But I mean, it's worth asking.
Okay.
Sure,
Preston.
this is Doug. I'll take that up to get some information on that for the next meeting.
Thank you.
Doug, you're going to take that on?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, you know what? While we're kind of in this period of saying things, can we get Seth? Can we get the speaking of bikes, the bike racks back on the agenda?
Yeah, you
Yeah, I've been
said,
doing some research. I didn't see.
you said you wanted to
Sorry?
do it in March, so that you and Jeff had time to search. So it's scheduled for the March meeting and ready to go on March 3rd. So whatever you have,
Perfect.
we can discuss.
I got it.
Sounds good.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I forgot I had mentioned much.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask. I just want to get the feel. Well, I guess it'll way too much. I don't want to hijack the meeting here.
So we back to superintendent.
Anybody else got any open discussion? Now do I turn it over to Preston?
Mr. King.
There you go.
How we doing today? Right now, we're into the snow mode. As you guys know, we've had 2 events already this year, which is double what we did last year. So and actually that when the snow events come in, it normally it takes a 2-day prep, and then the storm, then another 2 days to break down and clean up. So the last couple of weeks we've been in that doing a lot of maintenance. We've been trying to catch up on some trees, been catching up on some gardens, removing a few things, trying to make things a little easier for summer maintenance coming on. We're starting to, and actually tomorrow we finally have Seth and I have tracked down an actual company that does streetlights. So hopefully we'll see an improvement on that. These people actually, they're not an electrician, they're electricians, but they solely do streetlights. So we've been trying to, for a couple of years, they come out, work a little bit, then I can't get them back. And it just, Poolsville is so dislocated from Rockville, Frederick, that's out of the way for most. The last 2 companies had to drive over an hour to come here. And so this company actually runs the lights in Bowie. And so, which is a big city. And so I'm hoping they have the experience to get that done. I'm hoping that's online. And we're going to start, hopefully with the weather, we're going to start back on our tripping hazard. We bought a machine several years ago. We started using it last summer, And the tripping hazards are, because since we are a tree city, we have a lot of trees that are planted near our sidewalks. And now they're getting big enough, the roots are starting to cause heaving. And so we've identified a lot of hazards that we are going to, the next several weeks, we're going to start to address them. And then, like Terry said, March 1st is going to be on us sooner than later. I still would like to, we normally get some ball diamond mix. I like to get up with Terry, see which field he would like to have us address. I think the mound has stabilized, Terry, hadn't out there at Stevens Park. Terry? Hello.
You're on mute, Terry.
Sorry. Last time I was out there, it looked great.
Yeah, I didn't lock down. I mean, it really did. Everything stabilized, and I think it did what it needed to do. And so, like I said, we need, you just get back to me what field you want our ball diamond mix on. And
And I'll know, we've started registration for PAA, so I'll have a better idea, hopefully at the end of the month, to give you a heads up, to you guys a heads up.
Okay. And on a side note, we are taking down the Christmas lights tomorrow. I turned them on for the snow. So I don't know if people complained. I got a lot of
They look nice.
They look great.
And I just thought it was kind of a cool thing. Just got, I like the lights, and I thought it was going to be kind of a neat thing. I think it turned out, but we are taking them down tomorrow. So we'll see our crews out there. Don't run us over, Gail. Don't swerve at us. But anyway, we'll be doing that, and then we'll springtime's on us, and you'll see us out there start with our beds, trees. That's right there. I mean, we are right back into being busy again. So that's where it's at, guys.
Hey, Preston, I had a question for you.
Yes,
When I'm out walking, if I see a tree, along one of the roads that doesn't look all that healthy, do I just how do I report it?
Just call Maggie.
Or how do I have somebody evaluate it?
And we have a form she'll send it, and it will go to me. Then I'll make a determination if I have to have it removed, or if I have Bartlett trees come treat it, and then we'll get a plan together to address it. And actually, that's something I got to get all the
Okay, thanks.
off. We got a whole bunch of watering bags I got to get pulled off. Hopefully, I'll do that next week. Get that done. On a lot of
Hey, Preston.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Preston, this is Doug, and following up on McIntyre's comment there. If somebody sees a tree that is, failing, so to speak, and it's in the park, each one of our trees have a tag that you can look for, and that's another way of getting that information into town hall as to what trees are unhealthy.
Yes. Yep. And actually, we just went through Stevens Park last week, and we removed, I believe, 8 pine trees because of the beetles.
Hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Hey, Preston, real quick, the landscaping in front of Brightwell Crossing entrance, was that just a town initiative to reduce?
Yeah. And the reason, there's several reasons that has transpired. They were put in by the builder. Of course, that was the original, to sell the places, make it look good, but that has a high maintenance on it. And then the homeowners really are supposed to take care of it. Of course, they say we take care of it. So I went over there and explained to them, we have a reduction in summer force this year, so I won't have enough people it's going to be tight anyways. And both families were like, thank you. We don't want them. They don't want to do the maintenance. I mean, because it is. There were so many. If you could maintain them, they would be a nice.
They're big beds, man.
They were. So we took
them
back
huge.
to.
That's a lot of work.
We sodded them out, and actually, I think it gave a nice, clean look to it. And homeowners were happy. I'm happy, and I can move on from. That's one less thing I have to worry about this summer.
Preston, do we have a landscape architect that you work with, or is it just?
Well, we've been very fortunate. Bernie Mims, who is world renowned. I mean, he is the best in DC. He wins awards. He has been very nice to the town. The Campbell Farm, that whole path,
Ooh, yeah.
trees.
Yeah.
He did that for free. He donated trees. He just donated a couple more trees that are going in. Where is it? The Eagle Scouts. There's 2 at Campbell Park, and then I think he might be giving me a couple. Seth, the 2 trees you wanted for over at the thrift store.
Yeah,
I think he's going to give those to us as cost also, or free. I'm not sure.
If you,
But
I
he,
know a world-class groundskeeper as well, if you needed help with that. My husband also works and knows really low maintenance.
Yeah. And our biggest thing is, we do have a reduction this year.
Yeah.
And because we do like to maintain the town. Normally, I'm very prideful. Most people come to town and say, hey, the town looks nice. And
Right.
to do that, and I just had to reduce a little bit. Maybe at a later date when the staff goes, again, maybe we can add some features or whatever I wanted. But thank you for the offer, though.
Look, I want to put in work. Come on. More work out of my hair.
Busy.
Anything else, guys? Baseball's coming, mulching's coming, and the snowstorm.
No, I'm good.
More snow?
All right, Jeff.
Yeah,
we'll
yeah, I'm
turn it over
back.
to
I'm
you.
back. So is there, you mentioned
Oh,
the mulch.
Whoops.
Is there another park that's on slated for the rubberized mulch?
Well, we got one more done because last year Seth allowed me. We had extra money at the and we made a move on. And we know in the years past when we had surplus money, we'd buy the wood fibers and redo a park. And of course after 3 or 4 years they rot out basically. They call them engineered wood fibers. It's just pretty words for nice wood chips. But anyway, so we started to move in the direction of putting in the rubber mulch. And well, it's not mulch is not, but the rubber playground material.
Mhm.
And we've done 2 parks and they look great. They really look great. We put the one right off of Wooten Avenue. That's that's Brooks Park.
Brooks. Yeah.
And then the other one we did is Wooten Tot Lot next to the water tower. And we originally had scheduled to do the one at Helmos Park next to the bathrooms. But Seth and Bobby they made a move on some Project Open Space money, which has accelerated our new bathrooms that are going in there. New facility. Is that correct, Seth?
That's correct. New bathrooms at Helmos Park. So
Yeah.
those are the ones we
Very
torn,
good.
rebuilt, similar to the ones at Elgin Park. So we're pretty happy with that. A couple upgrades that, are more functional for staff.
And so what I did, because what my concern was, if I put that rubber mulch in there, and then they have to bring in large equipment, or they might have to change their footprint a little bit, I did not want to have to go in, remove, or lose what we did. So once that is in, my target is once that gets done, I'll have enough set aside. So the new bathrooms, then I'll put a new layer of mulch, so that whole area will be done at one time on there. But if you guys have a chance, go look at it. It really did.
You said Brooks Park, and what was the other park, Preston?
Wooten Tot Lot. That's next to the water tower, but you enter into the townhouses in there.
Yep, yeah.
It was a nice little touch. And we did go with a forest green. There is a lot of other colors we could go with, but I'm a green person. I like green. So, I was like, Seth, I'm ordering green. He's like, all right. But anyway, we could always open that up to discussion.
Yeah. But it does help blend in with the surrounding, though. It's what's kind of nice about it, really.
I think because we always use those colors in our schemes anyways, tans, greens, very, and I thought it really looked out well. And I would like to keep Helmos on the table once that's done. But the next park I would like to address, which would be like a little showcase one, we're painting the skateboard park. It would be nice to put a new mulching facility right next to it. You know what I'm saying, Seth? I mean, we're going to spruce one up, but the thing is, that's a large area. And I thought we spent $7,000. Do you remember that?
It's about 7,500 to get this. I mean, it's.
And I think it's going to be a little more than that because I did the area on the two of them. It's the two parks we did, it would not quite fill that park. So, we could have, probably a 10 grand operation, but once it's in 15 to 20 years before we have to touch it again.
Right.
And we were dumping every couple of years, we were dumping $4 grand, $3 grand. So it does really pay for itself within, 2 cycles, 6 years. Pretty much, that's what, and then, go on. But anyways,
Right.
that's something that I think you guys, if you, in your travels, take a look at it. I really think it really came out. And like I said, we always use the excess money. We have never really targeted and put a target price. You know what I'm saying, Seth? We've never in there, but we might have to if we want to do the larger parks, like Stevens Park. See, my personal thing would be the skate park because we're doing the painting, and that would kind of clean that park. But then Stevens Park, which is our highest use park, because our summer program is run out of it, and that would be the second one, in my opinion, which we should address, which is I think area-wide maybe a little bit larger than the skateboard park, but similar on there. So, but that's something to think about, something to put on. You know what I'm saying, Seth? Something we.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be budget dependent for sure, but we definitely know that this has great value in terms of both long-term value, and it's a great look, and it's increasing.
It is so nice. It really is.
If you walk on it, it's very it's nice and spongy. It's very soft. I want to see how in a couple months now it's went through winter, see how it kind of coalesces or if it still stays springy. It's pretty soft over there. But anyway, we've spent a lot of time on rubber mulch. But
Great. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Yep.
thank you.
Anybody else got anything? Before I switch it over to
Nope.
Jeff. All right, Jeff, anything you want to report from your all's meeting?
Well, I do have a couple things, yes. So I just want to
Thank
get to
you.
the top,
Okay.
top of my notes here. Yeah, so there were a number of things that I could want to report on. So, I talked about the naming of the Bodmer Park. I guess we went through all that, so we won't talk about that again. The other thing is the trash company is called Bates, and they sent a letter into Seth, into the town, and they offered to extend the same rates, so the rates wouldn't go up through, I think it was 2023. And so the town commissioners voted to accept that letter, which for me kind of made sense, especially holding the rates the same. And then there was quite a long discussion. Well, two things, two important points I want to make here. We had a long discussion and a very good presentation from Mr. Clifford. This is about the Willard project, from Mr. Clifford on the Willard project, and then of course also Mr. Willard was on the call as well. And they went over the presentation. I think everybody on this board has seen that presentation. And in terms of the parks and the walkways and whatnot, the parks board, this board gave it kind of the thumbs up. And then on top of that, the planning board also has given it the thumbs up. But that doesn't mean that's their last. That's in no way their last review of the plan, because the plan is just kind of what's called a sketch plan, so it's not in any details just yet. But anyway, the Mr. Clifford and Mr. Willard gave a really nice presentation, and they admitted that the first time when there was, everybody in town was kind of up in arms, they admitted that they were kind of a little bit taken for a ride by the builder, and this time is just 100. It's a 180 or 360 reverse from where they were the last time. So, and as you remember, the last time there were more homes and less green space. The homes were really quite large, multi-story and whatnot. And that's, like I say, it's 180 reversal from that original proposal. And I'm sure that's why this board and the planning commission so far has given their okay. The commissioner, now that's the number one point, right? And you're probably all familiar with the proposal because you've seen it from, directly from the horse's mouth, Mr. Clifford and Mr. Willard. The thing that I found surprising wasn't about the plan at all. It was not about the plan. And everyone else, the commissioner kind of scratched their head a little bit on the same thing, was that there was nobody on the call to give public comment. And as if you can remember back, it was probably 2 years ago, when the first proposal came around, and of course it was not a good proposal, but having said that, there were lots of people in the town hall that gave very passionate feedback, and it was a striking silence because there was nobody that gave feedback. And so, it had been in the newspaper, it had been on Facebook, it had been on Monocle, this and that. And why people didn't give feedback, well, I still don't know. So anyway, because of the complete absence of public comment, then the commissioners, and I agree with this, decided to extend the date for the public comment to, I believe it's February, I have it in my notes here, I believe it's February the 12th at noon. So it gives, today's the 3rd, so it gives you about 9 more days, and then it's going to be posted on the town Facebook page. And I've already seen it, so I'm very happy that someone had, I guess Seth posted it, and then it was also copied on the the Poolsville community Facebook page. So now I think a lot of folks will take a look at that. Whether or not people may comment or whether they don't, I guess that's up to them. I certainly hope they do. Not because I think the plan is bad, but because I think people need to have their voices heard. For whatever they want to say, I think it's worthwhile that people have their voices heard. So that was, you're all familiar with what the Woodward plan is, and there hasn't been any changes to it. But the fact that there weren't any, weren't any public comment, that I did find surprising. Another thing that we made sure that Mr. Clifford and Mr. Willard were aware of, and Seth can keep me straight on this, was that the approval is contingent upon the sewer capacity. And of course, all the homes have to be connected to the wastewater and the wastewater treatment plant and whatnot. And the wastewater treatment plant is very near at capacity, so that's an issue. So that means if you add another home, then you're going to be over capacity. And you don't want to do that because there's lots of potential penalties that you could encounter from the state of Maryland, the Maryland Department of Environment, whatnot. So anyway, there is a plan to increase capacity by plugging up some of the areas where rainwater and snow melt infiltrates the system, and then it ends up in the wastewater treatment plant. And that, that's why their inflows are much greater than how much water you actually use in your home. So that should, if that correction goes through, and then actually they do plug up whatever infiltration that occurs, then that'll create additional capacity for other planned developments. So we made sure that they were aware of that. They said they already were aware of that. So I'm glad they were putting that into their planning. Let's see, what else did we talk about? A couple other interesting things. I'm gonna go back to my notes here.
Hey, Jeff, would you say the plan was well received from all the commissioners?
I believe it was. I absolutely believe it was, and it was, and we thanked the Mr. Clifford and Mr. Willard, and noted the fact that it was a dramatic change from, and I would say a dramatic improvement from their previous proposal.
But
and
they were very honest. Has also been different too.
What's that?
I was going to say the process has also been very different too. They've been
meeting
several stakeholders throughout the town for months now. So that may be why the public comment is what it is, because everybody else knows what's happening. They've been meeting with a lot of people who have a lot of say in this, and I think that may be why there's public comment isn't what it was before, where it was just a letter that said to a bunch of homeowners saying, guess what, we're going to build 104 houses or whatever.
That's a very important point, because
the process has been very different.
Yeah, no, I want to emphasize that and agree with your point of 1,000,000%, because that's so important. And that may be the reason why there wasn't any public comment, because a lot of the stakeholders already had an opportunity to work with the planners and get their important elements incorporated into the plan. So that is a possibility. Yeah. So no, that of course is very important. So the public comment was extended to February 12th at noon. I just checked my notes here.
Got it.
Yeah, and what else we want to talk about? I think we already talked about kind of a follow-up from Officer Bond, because she did have the conversations with the parents involved, and that you know, in Jeff's opinion, that's great, but it can't be the end of it. So, and I really don't think that it will be. What else we talked about? Oh, we talked about the water tower. So the water tower, I'm sure the water tower is quite large, so I'm sure everybody can see it. And it's in rather desperate need of a paint job. So we talked about what should the paint job look like? Should it be the same color? And what kind of lettering should be on there saying Poolsville? And then also, should it have like a logo for the Poolsville High School, the Poolsville Falcons? And Seth provided quite a selection of possible Falcon logos and the with the bird with the wings and all kind of things. So it's very nice. And so that's going to be, so that wasn't really decided on, because that has to go out for public comment as well. And yeah, so I hope we get public comment on that. I think it's a great idea to have very clear block letters and a nice blue background saying Poolsville, and then also something like the suggested picture of the Falcon on the water tower as well. Something very clear that it won't be confused as what it is, you know, and when it gets to be really big on the top of the water tower. So I thought that was, yeah, that was very good. I enjoyed that. And of course, we talked about the about the name or the lack of a name at the end. I've already decided about that, about, you know, Bodmer Park. I don't want to rehash that. And I already mentioned that the Bates, the trash contract was extended to 2023. And it was already quite late. And the discussion with the Willard folks did take quite a while. So I believe that was it. Am I missing anything important, Seth?
No, I think we've covered all the highlights.
Yeah, I think we covered it all. Yeah. But thanks for asking.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else got anything then that they want to bring up before we close this out?
Got nothing.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
There you go. Thank you.
Good night, guys.
Thank
Anybody,
you.
anybody second? Who's seconding it?
I'll sec. Oh, Jeff's got it.
Got it.
All right, Jeff seconded. All in favor of saying good night?
Thank you all. Have a good
1,
evening.
2, 3, 4.
Good night,
There we
everyone.
go.
Good
Good night,
night.
everybody.
Good
Who
night.
seconded
Thank
that,
you.
Jeff? Jeff Eck?
Yes.
Yes.
Jeff X seconded it. Yes. We are, what do we got? Out of here at 8:50.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
I can see your background, Preston.
Yes. Here, look. Don't go
Scandalous.
Oh, I love it, Preston. Where's the moose? Nice.
I'm really offended.
How's that?
Oh,
How
I
about
love
the
it.
critters?
Oh, look at
Wow.
that guy.
Pretty
He
cool.
looks like a cat.
Can anybody identify that one?
That's a
That's a mink.
cat.
One's a bobcat, one's a ringtail cat.
The ringtail.
Texas.
What is the ringtail?
How big is that cat?
It's a ringtail
bobcat.
cat. It's not an actual cat, but that's just the name of it.
Where'd you get
Wait.
that?
In
Which
Texas, San Antonio.
You got that on the buy and sell page. I know you did.
Good night, guys.
I knew I